In this video, I'm gonna rank every single laser weapon in Fortnite history from worst to best. In order for a weapon to qualify to be on this list, it's pretty simple. They have to shoot either laser bullets or a straight laser beam out of their gun, and you guys will be surprised how many weapons there are in Fortnite history that do just that. Although there will be a couple of exclusions here. Number one, no Zapatron on this list. Yes, it is a laser weapon, but nobody watching this video, including myself, has ever used a Zapatron, and so I cannot accurately rank it. And this list is specifically going to be guns only, no items. So no Iron Man repulsors or the combat kit. Yes, they do shoot lasers, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going with guns only here. With all that out of the way, be sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop. We got a couple new battle passes right around the corner, and make sure you're subscribed because I have a ton of content planned for the new seasons. But anyways, let's finally get right into this ranking. At my number 15 spot, far and away, clearly the worst laser item in Fortnite history, it is the E11 blaster rifle. I'm just gonna say one thing here, guys. A DPS of 108 with a fully automatic weapon is absolutely horrible. That is criminal. That should not be possible. It just has a horrible accuracy, and not to spoil anything going forward, but you're gonna see a lot of these laser rifles just have terrible accuracy. And yeah, the E11 blaster fits that bill perfectly. It is a horrible weapon. Nobody ever uses this thing past like the first couple of minutes of a game, and yeah, it is definitely going to be in last place here. But honestly, not too far ahead of it at my number 14 spot is the Tri-Beam laser rifle from Chapter 5 Season 3. What a disappointing weapon. I gotta be honest with you, I was so excited when I saw that this weapon was coming to Fortnite. I was like, another fully automatic laser rifle, like this is going to be great. Lo and behold, it was not. It has this really weird mechanic where there's like no crosshair. Instead of it's just one circle, and your bullet will go anywhere within that circle. So you can imagine how horrible the accuracy is here. And with a DPS of 117, it is not much better than the E11 blaster rifle. Of course, DPS means damage per second, and it is an incredibly important stat when comparing different weapons that are fully automatic with each other. I just hate the fact that like you cannot be skilled with this weapon. It doesn't matter how skilled of a shooter, how great your aim is. The bullet will literally go wherever inside that circle is. It's just a terrible mechanic, and I hope we never see that return ever again. At my number 13 spot is going to be the E11 blaster rifle, and I'm just totally realizing right now I actually messed up the last spot. The last spot is supposed to be the first order blaster rifle, not the E11 blaster rifle. The E11 blaster rifle is here at the number 13 spot, so excuse the mistake there. Sorry about that. But with that all cleared up, yeah, the E11 blaster rifle is really, really bad. I honestly don't have anything else to say about it. It is literally just the first order blaster rifle with a little bit of a faster fire rate. It is still incredibly inaccurate. It's just, honestly, guys, a lot of these Star Wars weapons are just more gimmicky and more like collab fun-ish than they are actually meant to be seriously used. And the E11 blaster rifle definitely, in my opinion, fits under that category. Moving on to the number 12 spot is going to be the Chimera ray gun, and that's going to include the mythic version Zig and Choppies, and I'm also going to include Bender's shiny metal ray gun here on this spot. The Chimera ray gun and Bender's shiny metal ray gun are legitimately the exact same weapons. They have a little bit of different damage numbers, but they function identically. They just shoot one long laser beam that, of course, is hit scan, which is super important to understand. It gives this weapon a little bit of an edge because it doesn't matter if they're 100 meters away, 200 meters away, or 10 meters away. As long as that laser, your crosshair, is pointed at that player, there is no damage. There is no like bullet drop or anything. That laser will hit them and deal damage. And it's really cool. I definitely like that, but there's just not enough damage here. Again, just more poor DPS numbers from the Chimera ray gun. 135 in the rare variant, but it can get up to 165 in the legendary, and obviously higher than that for the mythic version, and same goes for Bender's shiny metal ray gun. They're decent weapons, again, more gimmicky than they are meant to be used seriously, and that's okay, right? Fortnite's a fun game, I get it, and you're gonna see that be the case with a lot of other Fortnite weapons on this list. Also, not to mention, but if you're gonna shoot somebody far away with that laser beam, you are giving away your position perfectly for everybody else on the map to see you, because they can see that laser literally traveling hundreds of meters in the air. So keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, moving on to my number 11 spot on this list, it's the DC-15 blaster rifle. So of course, again, another Star Wars weapon on the list. So obviously it's higher than the first order blaster rifle and the E11 blaster rifle, but I gotta be honest with you, I don't think that's saying much. It is definitely like considerably better. It's just that the projectile time takes forever to reach your target. You You guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's like you aim your crosshair at someone, you shoot it at them, but the bullet does not hit them because it has to take time to travel to them. So you can have the best aim in the world, and then you shoot them, and it travels half the way, and then they just take one step to the left, and oh, all of a sudden you miss the shot. It's just super difficult to use, right? Like, you get good damage. You get scar damage, 37 here, right? But again, this weapon is just incredibly difficult to use. Infinite ammo, though, is really nice, and I think it has the coolest weapon design out of all these Star Wars weapons for sure. At medium to long ranges, the DC-15 is actually a decent weapon. At the number 10 spot is going to be the Wookiee Bowcaster, and man, I'm absolutely hammering these Star Wars mythics down here at the bottom of the list. So if you are a Star Wars fan, I sincerely apologize. It's just, God, these Star Wars weapons are mid. Again, I know it's not saying much, but this is definitely one of, if not the best Star Wars mythic that has ever been added into Fortnite. It's definitely the best one on this list for sure. I will give it that. It has a ton of big damage potential. You have like this tap to fire ability, which, I mean, I know when I used it, I never used the tap to fire. I always would use the hold like charge effect. It would shoot this big explosive bolt, and it could actually do splash damage to players, which in zero build, especially if someone's hiding around a corner, is really good to get them out. It also does really solid damage to structures as well. Again, I hate to knock on it like this, but it is so hard to use. Like, this weapon is genuinely difficult to use. You'll see it in the gameplay. It is not easy to hit a shot using this weapon, but you are rewarded decently if you are able to do so. I will say, though, like what a forgotten about weapon. I totally forgot the Wookiee Bowcaster even was in the game. On launch, it was, like, really bad. They had to buff the damage up. Like, I think the base damage was originally 40. They were like, nah, this thing's terrible. And then it got buffed to 55 damage, at least for the tap-to-fire damage, which is decent. It's not bad. Also, the Fortnite wiki says that this weapon used to be a epic rarity, so a purple rarity, and was upgraded to mythic. You guys are gonna have to let me know in the comment section if that's the case. I never remember this being a purple rarity weapon, but if that is the case, this might be one of the only weapons in Fortnite history to get a straight rarity upgrade from purple to mythic. That's insane. Anyways, moving on to the number 9 spot, it's gonna be the sideways rifle from Chapter 2, Season 8, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I was a hater of these sideways weapons for the longest time, but I've kind of come around to realize that they're not terrible, they're decent. The key for this weapon and all the sideways weapons in general to be good is you have to hit those shots once you charge up. If you miss those shots, you're in big trouble, because those early beginning shots don't really do that much damage. It's once you charge up, you start getting really fast firing, really accurate. That's when these weapons become absolutely insane. Like when the sideways rifle is fully charged up in its legendary and mythic versions, guys, you can get a DPS of almost 200. That's actually pretty insane. When this gun is close to overheating, the damage multiplies by 1.5. So you see what I'm saying? That is a huge damage multiplier, and you really have to hit those shots for this weapon to be good. But if you do, you're honestly just going to melt everybody in your way. At my number 8 spot on this list is the Stark Industries rifle. And wait, before you come at me in the comment section below, this is the Chapter 5 Season 4 version of this weapon. I had to separate the Chapter 5 Season 4 and the Chapter 2 Season 4 versions. I cannot believe what they did to this weapon in Chapter 5. They absolutely destroyed my boy. They made this thing not hit scan anymore. It is a projectile weapon, and normally, right, the whole reason for making them projectile is that you have the attachments, right? So the attachment system kind of balances out the projectile-based weapon system. But no, you could not put any attachments on the Stark Industries rifle. This thing got an absolutely massive nerf, a total fall from grace from its Chapter 2 Season 4 version, and it kind of pains me to put a version of the Stark Industries rifle pretty low on this list, but I had to do it, guys. This weapon was not good in Chapter 5 Season 4. For some reason, they also gave this thing absolutely insane recoil in Chapter 5. Like, you would shoot this thing, your bullets are going straight up to the moon. It is incredibly difficult to hit anybody, especially when you're playing Chapter 5 Season 4, which is literally shooting mosquito simulator with jetpacks everywhere. So yeah, I'm not a fan, as you can tell, of the Chapter 5 version of the Stark Industries rifle. But anyways, let me cool off for a second, and let's talk at the number 7 spot about the sideways minigun. So yeah, basically everything I just said about the sideways rifle, mirror that, add it to the sideways minigun, except I do believe the sideways minigun is considerably better than its rifle counterpart. And we gotta talk some numbers here, because if you go by the numbers, statistically, when this weapon is charged up, it is one of the best weapons in Fortnite history. A lot of people regard the Foundation's MK7 assault rifle to be one of the best Fortnite weapons of all time, if not the best, definitely the best rifle in Fortnite history, and that weapon has a DPS of 209. And get this, the sideways minigun, when fully charged, of course, that's a huge asterisk, but when fully charged in its common version, has a DPS of 234 and 312 in the mythic version. Those are absolutely absurd numbers. If this weapon started out like fully charged, it would by far be the best weapon of all time. And look, while I know DPS is not the greatest indicator of how good a weapon is, it's not the only indicator of how good a weapon is, but it is a very commonly used measure to measure different weapons across different rarities and different weapon classes. The main problem is just this base weapon, before it kind of gets into that like overheated, crazy fast fire rate, charged up state, is pretty horrible. I'll be honest with you guys. It is nothing special. It's incredibly inaccurate, very low DPS, low damage, really nothing you want in a weapon, but once it gets charged up, it's just an absolute beast. Just a really weird weapon, and yeah, you guys can see why this weapon was incredibly difficult to rank. Moving on to our number 6 spot is going to be the Burst Pulse Rifle, our first and only exotic on this list. It is also the first of several pulse rifles that will appear on this list. Yeah, you know, I can't lie, I'm not the biggest fan of the Burst Pulse Rifle, but I will admit its accuracy puts it all the way up on this list, because as you can tell, a lot of these laser weapons have not been accurate weapons. So if a weapon is accurate and does good damage, like literally the bare minimum for a Fortnite weapon, it pushes it way up on this list. Look, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Burst Pulse Rifle's mechanic, right? Like being a Burst Pulse Rifle, really, I just like the regular Pulse Rifle better. Also, it was an exotic, which means it was very rare on the map and cost a lot of gold back in the day. Again, this is just a truly forgotten about Fortnite weapon. Like, I've never heard anybody in any video ever talk about the Burst Pulse Rifle. Like, literally the only video on YouTube about the Burst Pulse Rifle is like FaZe Replay's video and Cypher PK's video. I'm sure I'll honestly use one of their videos here for gameplay. It's solid, nothing special, but honestly, there are just so many bad laser rifles, it gets pushed way up here. At my number 5 spot on today's list is the Evochrome Burst Assault Rifle. This will include Herald's Burst Assault Rifle, of course, a mythic. And no, I will not be counting the Evochrome Shotgun. So a couple things to disclose here. For one, I honestly at first didn't really think that this was a laser weapon, but after watching a bunch of gameplay, listening to how the weapon sounds when you shoot it, watching the bullets in the air, it clearly looks like a laser. I mean, watch the gameplay here. On the other hand, the Evochrome Shotgun, I just really couldn't tell, and so I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to put it up on this list, but it's very possible that that could be a laser-based weapon as well. I think the Evochrome Burst AR is a really slept-on weapon. I've talked about it in multiple videos previously, but I think the mechanic of doing damage to upgrade your own weapon is awesome. I honestly cannot believe it has not come back yet. It is such a great Fortnite mechanic. I don't know why they have not added it into another weapon. It literally promotes going out there, killing people, playing super aggressive, and not camping, which I absolutely love. I will admit, in the common through arguably probably blue rarities, this weapon is pretty bad, but once you start getting into those purple and above, and especially the mythics, they are absolutely insane. Some of the best assault rifles in Fortnite history. I love Herald's Evochrome Burst Assault Rifle. That thing, like, absolutely just insta-delete builds. It is so good, and the mythic version of the regular Evochrome Burst AR, there's an argument that that is even better. I think the Evochrome Burst AR is honestly a criminally slept-on weapon. Moving on to our number 4 spot, that is going to be the Pulse Rifle. And this is a really interesting weapon, guys, because the Pulse Rifle and the Stark Industries Rifle are very similar to each other, and they are very difficult to rank because of their hip firing and ADS damage. The regular Pulse Rifle is better than the Stark Industries Rifle in the ADS mode, but the Stark Industries Rifle significantly outperforms the Pulse Rifle in its hip fire mode. So you can see why it was so tough to rank these weapons. Of course, if you're not familiar, you get big time damage but a super slow fire rate when you aim down sights, and when you hip fire, you do less damage but an incredibly fast fire rate. So a really versatile weapon. I mean, think about this. In the legendary version of the Pulse Rifle, you're getting to 54 damage a shot. That is insane. That's getting into like Marksman Rifle and DMR territory. And this isn't even talking about the mythic version of this weapon, which is absolutely insane as well. I believe it was Sloan's Pulse Rifle. Just an overall really solid weapon, and if you think this should have been higher than the Stark Industries Rifle, which will be coming up shortly, I think you could make that argument. I definitely see that. At the number 3 spot is the Railgun from Chapter 2, Season 7. Simply put it, one of my favorite weapons in Fortnite history. What a sick mechanic. Like the ability to, I guess, just shoot through multiple layers of walls, especially when you pair it with the recon scanner. Also, one of my favorite weapon combos of all time. It was so fun back in the day to use recon scanner railgun, especially if you had multiple railguns on your team. And by the way, I was debating whether this would be considered a laser gun, but after further review and watching gameplay, yes, absolutely, this should count for this list. I think there's a solid argument here that the railgun should be considered a top 3, top 4 sniper in Fortnite history. It's not just good for being able to shoot through walls, it's not just good for its damage, it's also good for literally just insta-deleting UFOs in the air. You guys remember how annoying those pesky UFOs were? Their hard counter was literally a railgun. I think the railgun did like 700 damage to these. They would two-shot any UFO at full health, which is sick. Of course, it came back in Chapter 3, and while this weapon doesn't deal as much damage as some other snipers, its other utility abilities are so good that, I mean, I just personally love this weapon, so a little bit of bias here, but definitely deserving to be within the top 5 for sure. Anyways, moving on to the number 2 spot, it's the Stark Industries rifle from Chapter 2, Season 4, and honestly, I basically just talked about this weapon with the pulse rifle. They are extremely similar, very similar damage. As I said earlier, this weapon does better damage at the hip than the pulse rifle, but worse in ADS than the pulse rifle. It's just kind of a pick your poison, like whatever fits better to your playstyle, take that one. Personally, the theming for me, like I just love the fact that it's an Iron Man weapon, the Stark Industries rifle, you know, it's so cool, and I gotta put it just a couple spots up higher. But again, as I said with the pulse rifle, you want to switch it to the number 4 spot and then put the pulse rifle at the number 2 spot, you could do that. I totally understand. But at the number 1 spot, no debate, easy number 1 spot on this list, one of the best Fortnite weapons of all time, it is the overclocked pulse rifle. I seriously cannot believe that there was an epic dev that came up with an idea for this weapon. They tested it out and they said, you know what, this is definitely good to add into the game. It is not broken whatsoever at all. This will definitely go down well with the community. This game is definitely fair. You know how like the pulse rifle is supposed to do like more damage when you ADS and less at the hip? Dude, less damage at the hip here is 38 damage. That's more than a SCAR and a DPS of 237.5. Again, remember we talked about the Foundation's MK7 assault rifle earlier. People consider that to be one of the best weapons of all time. That's just around a 200 DPS. And 57 damage a shot when you aim down sights. That is absolutely unbelievable. You guys do not understand how insane that is. It is so accurate, literally no bullet drop. Combine this with a kinetic blade, a havoc pump shotgun. Chapter 4, Season 2, my beloved, please come back. What a beautiful meta. And yeah, no question about it, this was going to be the number 1 spot. Absolutely broken Fortnite weapon. All right, guys, that is my ranking for all of Fortnite's laser beam style weapons. I know this is kind of a goofy video idea, but I was just sitting in my basement, it came to my head, and immediately I knew I had to make a video on it. I love making videos about the goofier side of Fortnite, and I know you guys enjoy watching them. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about my list. Are there any picks that you would switch around? If you guys did go on to enjoy this video, please be sure to leave this video a like, subscribe. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and with all that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.